we go. Hi guys, doing Alex here, licensed CPA and Realtor. I'm here with
Natalia Paulino.
So Natalia, as I understand it, you've been here for how many years?
It's gonna be 5 years.
5 years. So you hit that 5, like, so that for me, there's that 5 year is usually where a lot of agents like burn out. You've hit that 5 year mark, and the way I understand
I think
it.
they used to say 2 years.
Well,
Make
2
it
years.
past 2 years.
2 years is like the huge cut, and then they said if not the second year, that 5th year is like the final like.
Make you or break you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I guess it depends on which article you read, but while we're here, you made congrats on making 5, right? But I am curious, right? So let's go back into like that origin story. So how did you get, like, what was that path to here?
How did I get into real estate?
Mhm.
What made me get into it? Good question. And I think that's one of the things they go over with you when you first start too, is like figuring out your big why or why you're doing this, to keep in the back of your head at all times so you know why you're here, why you get up in the morning to keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the 5 years, it's definitely changed little by little.
Yeah.
Right? Like every year I feel like there's a different reason. To start, I think I just needed a change in my life, right? So I think when I was thinking about, first of all, I was in the salon for many, many years. I was a hairstylist. I was a manager in Texas. When I moved to New York, I worked in the Lower East Side. I worked in Midtown. But I felt like I needed something different.
Mm-hmm.
I was like at a time in my life where, I don't know, I guess we all have times in our lives where it's up and down. I was probably on like a down.
Right.
And if you know me, I don't like to be there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I always want to feel like excited, happy, like something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started looking into different ideas. I actually went to a few open houses around my neighborhood.
Right.
And that got me excited, seeing the price points. It's a big difference from Texas.
Absolutely. But like where some people would have been like, you know, whether it's like on board with life or like I feel stagnant. I mean, some people might go on a vacation. You decided like I'm going on a career change, right? Like, I mean, on the one hand, I want to say who does that, but on the other hand, I'm like, this girl's got stones. This girl's got some serious stones. Okay, so you went to some open houses and you're like, hot damn, like these prices are serious.
The
right?
prices were crazy. The homes were beautiful. I live in Bushwick, so a lot of the gentrification, and they were like remodeling all these homes. When I walked in there, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is cool. The agents that I got to meet, they were very cool and personable, and I just liked how I felt being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking into it a little bit more,
Fair
asking questions, and seeing what I had to do to actually get my license and be where they're at.
Okay, so then, damn, you wasted no time.
I
Right?
didn't.
So you kind of went through the typical process of, something sparked something in you to say, I'm gonna do this. You got your license, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about those like first couple of years, right? Because that is typically that like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm done here. This is not for me, right? So is there any tidbits that you'd like to share in that
Yeah.
phase?
Oh my goodness. First year, of course, was an eye-opener because I had no idea what I got into. I didn't know what it meant to be a realtor. I didn't know what real estate really meant, or how I guess you really generate business, how you get started. So I would feel like the first year was figuring things out, trying to talk to as many agents in the office as possible, getting feedback from them. What are they doing? I'm a people watcher. I observe people.
Right.
So I was definitely going around the office, listening, watching, and seeing what others were doing. And then I also had stepped into a mentorship to get hands-on with a more experienced agent. And I think that's what really helped me the most, because he sat down with about 5 or 6 of us, and we were actually doing calls together. We were going over scripts together, marketing material, all kinds of stuff like that.
Right. And so I think that's that. I didn't know that, right? And I feel like that's one of those like critical things, right? Like I think a lot of people, and myself included, and I'm still kicking myself in the head because my stubborn brain is stubborn. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this myself.
Right.
And then you get upset, like, why am I not closing deals?
Right.
Right. And so during this phase, right, was it kind of like a quit my job and then go full-time real estate, or was it kind of like a...
No, I was still trying to be in the salon, so I was part-time in both areas. Like maybe half the week I was in the salon, the other half I was trying to be in the office doing stuff.
And that's still tough, right?
So here's the thing that just popped into my head when you were talking, when you're talking about doing it yourself. That is very much me. I have that mentality, but I also feel like I have to feel comfortable and know what I'm doing before I get there.
Fair enough.
And obviously if you're doing a mentorship or you're asking for help, sometimes yes, there's like, they want a pay cut.
Right.
It's understandable. They're taking time out of their day. So that was hard for me. But then I started to realize, okay, what is 25% of zero? Right. Because I'm not doing, excuse the language.
You can always bleep it out.
So for me to say, I can do this all on my own and take 100% was just crazy. So I was willing to take that pay cut, and I was also willing to run around for agents doing showings or doing open houses, just anything that would get me
business, right?
one, experience, and two, eventually put that into my business.
And you know what? That's going to be one of those things where, where other agents have failed,
Right.
you've sought wisdom, right? And it's weird because I still have employee brain, right? It's one of those things where I know I have entrepreneurial, tendencies,
Right.
but then I still have employee brain in terms of like at the end of the day, I'm spending more money for this, that, and I'm realizing maybe do take a pay cut, right?
Right.
But long term, what does that mean for you, right?
Right.
And in the previous discussions, there were other little things that you brought up, right? So as I understand this, you actually have another kind of, I don't want to call it pet project because in my personal thing, the way I see it is this is like a potential huge undertaking, right? So you want to kind of get into what it is that you're breaking into?
Yes. So I've started a group for real estate moms, working moms.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to meet every month. We're going to talk about our stories. We're going to have a space to vent, to mastermind, to talk about goals and accomplishments, and also factor in, outside of work, what it's like being a mom as well, and making it all kind of work out together.
And there's it's one of those things where, we talked about this earlier, but my mom, at one point she was raising 3 crazy kids, and
Wow.
At one point she was an agent herself, right? And granted, this was back in the 90s, and things are a lot different, but the hustle, the grind, that the need for mental willpower was always there, right? And so this is, as soon as you mentioned that, my eyes lit up, right? And I still think back, and I will have moments where, as a kid, I didn't understand, right? And now that I do, there are moments where I need a moment to right? But so for me it's, real estate moms, that means you are a mom, right?
Right.
It would be a little weird if you weren't, right? So is there...
It's like experience, what is it, experience stuff, not theory. I am a mom.
This is the thing. Your wisdoms come from experience and not just a theoretical.
Right.
You're a woman, you can do it, right? It's like, no, I'm a mom, right? I live this life, right?
Right.
And so, you want at what point were you in that seat where you're like, I have mouths to feed, but this real estate thing is my this is my why, right? Mm-hmm. At some point, those two things have to tie together, right? And so, could you kind of walk me through the decisions that you made? You have a kid at home, and you're still gonna go through this real estate agent life.
So, I found out I was pregnant a few months after I got my license. So I was already going through the motions, and I had spoken with Megan O'Brien. I worked with her for a few years at my old office, and I told her, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Now I'm pregnant. I thought I was going to start off with this. I don't know how long, like, I didn't know what to expect. It's one thing seeing it, like I saw my mother raise kids, but it's a whole different,
Sure.
a whole different experience when you're going through it. Like I didn't understand what it was to be a mom until I became a mom, and I'm a woman, you know.
Right.
It has nothing to do with male or female.
Right.
Like you don't get it until you've done it and you've gone through it. So she sat down with me and she was like, "Do you know who Diana Kokosko is?" And I didn't know. So we sat down and, you know, Diana Kokosko is well known throughout Keller Williams, and she was known for taking her kids in one of those little wagons, and she went door knocking, you know, and she blew up. She did her business, and she told me, she's like, "You can do this. If you want to come in, bring your kid. You want to bring the baby. You want to do this, like we're gonna make it happen." So I think she really helped me with my mindset to decide I can still make this happen.
Right, and that, I think that's where a lot of people kind of give up, right?
Right.
Where, you know, for instance, this could have went a completely different route, right? You could have just been like, "Oh crap, I'm pregnant. How am I gonna feed my kid? No. This real estate thing, there's no guarantee. Like I'm done. No. I'm gonna go back to what historically gave me a steady paycheck, and that's it, right?
Right.
That could have been the end of it."
Well, there's a lot that went into it too, because I think even culturally, you know, we're always raised like moms stay at home, women stay home, and they take care of the kids, and you're a housewife. And I struggled with that for a while, and then I decided, like, no, like I still have my dreams, I still have my goals, and if anything, me doing this and being very successful at it at a high level is going to be an example for my daughter. Like, you can do this as well.
Right, because, I mean, here's that flip side, right? So you can have the people who's like, you know, your place is at home, raising your kids, being a mom. All right, cool, right? Have you been a mother to your child, right? I would say yes, right?
Yes.
Have you taken away, have you not been there for your child?
No.
Right. So while you were actually being a real parent, right, have you still ran your business?
I have.
So.
And she's actually been a part of almost every single part of a transaction. Different transaction, different deals, but she has gone to me. She's gone to showings. She's gone through home inspections. She's gone through final walkthroughs. She has met a seller with me. He was a FISBO, and I walked in there with her, strapped on me, and his eyes lit up, and it actually opened the conversation because he immediately thought of his daughter and his granddaughter. And so it wasn't just about business. I didn't get that listing. That's fine. He was overpriced anyway. But it was really cool to have that conversation or that connection with somebody, not just business-wise. You know, they were able to relate on a different level. Right,
and I think that's where, you know, it gets tough for some people, right? Because on the one side, just to keep it real, there are going to be some people like, "Oh, you want some cliche tagline of like, woman power." No. Look, if you ever spent, like, you know, for me, it's like, oh, the beauty of, you know, before I had my kid, the beauty of being the uncle is I could bear through a day.
Yeah.
But in the back of my head, I know at some point your parents are coming and you are no longer my problem. This is why I loved being an uncle, right?
I was an auntie for many years before I became a mother,
right.
And I loved it.
Right? It's a whole different ballgame.
It's a different story.
When you can't return the kid.
Yeah.
Right? There's no refund.
There's no shut off.
So, you know, from where I stand.
They used to ask too, they're like, "Are you part-time? Are you full-time?" I'm like, I am overtime all the time, literally, since having a kid. Like, there is no part-time or full-time.
Of course not.
It's overtime.
And, you know, I think that's where you shine, right? Because this is where I'm like super excited for you, right? Because obviously as agents and, you know, any levels of success, there's that bit of, you got to time block your life. You have to like prioritize and whatever.
Commit to your schedule.
Right. And this is all well and good, except from a mother, you know, or anyone with a kid, right? Who are the primary caregivers. It's time blocking is all well and good until you have a 2-year-old blasting through your door, screaming, "Mommy, Daddy," whatever, right?
Yeah.
So how has that transition been for you?
I'm still working through it. But there's definitely not a shut-off button when it comes to a kid, especially my daughter. She's 4. So she still requires a lot of hands-on attention or help with things like that. What I have done really is blocked out. Well, now she's in school, so it's different. So, like if I step back before she was in school and we were always at home, I would try to commit to 1 hour straight. Like I'd sit her down, I'd give her a project or something for her to do. And I knew that she could at least keep her attention there for 30 minutes to an hour. And during that time, I was focused on making a call or shooting an email, following up with the client, whatever I had to do in that time frame. And then I would have to take a break. Okay, so then I had to step back another X amount of time, 30 minutes to an hour with her, like engage with her. And then I knew I could get back for another hour and do it all over again as she was occupied with whatever.
so in those windows, like the pressure's on. Like you gotta execute.
Right.
I mean, and there's a lot of value in that, right? So here, look. The way I understand, recently you had a little bit. You set up what? Was it a workshop? Was it a seminar? Because there was something very interesting, right?
I'm still trying to come up with, right, like what term I'm going to use with that, because I think I blasted it as a meeting, and then I was like a session, and I talked to the other women, and they're like, maybe a mastermind, but every month I'm going to sit down and host, for now, a Zoom meeting, right, because of COVID, that's what we're doing everything virtually. To make everybody feel safe, unless maybe people want to come in the office. But every month, second Tuesday of every month, meeting with other real estate moms, and we are, like I said, we're going to probably more along the lines, base it like a mastermind. The first session, we just introduced ourselves. We talked about a little of our struggles, a little bit of our accomplishments. Next time, we're going to talk about what we're just talking, time blocking, our calendar. How do we make it work? How do we balance, or shall I say counterbalance, the work and at-home stuff? So that's what we're doing. We're masterminding, we're talking, we're having conversations about work and life.
I love it. Okay, so you've definitely taken the first initial steps to kind of, I mean, from my perspective, it's like test the waters, right?
Right.
But as I have more like conversations with you, I sense there's like the reason why I find you absolutely like intriguing is because you have this like quiet ferocity. I don't know how to describe it, right? It's like by many accounts, you're very soft spoken, right? Like I have yet to hear you like wail. I'm sure that you have your moments, but at least, right? But there's this intensity, right? And so when you're like, oh, I don't know, I think I'm gonna start this real estate moms group thing, mastermind session, whatever, right? And I'm like, but the more conversations I have, the more I realize I'm like, this chick isn't just. She's not messing around, right? I mean, granted, I'm sure this is like a test run to see where it goes, but with your personality type, my sense is that this community that you're building, this tribe of gangsta women, right? I think, like, I'm actually curious on like what your vision for this is, right?
That's a good question, right? And I think the word community is a good term for it, name for it, right? It started as a small idea, and I think it's snowballing into more, and I'm seeing a clearer picture of what I want to do with it or expect to come of it. And I think it's just having that community, building on it and bringing more women in little by little, building that energy, and I guess in a support group as well, right? Being able to give somebody or other women that space where like you don't feel alone or you don't feel like giving up, because there's going to be another woman right there that went through what you went through, has the experience, and can give you a little bit of advice to keep moving forward.
Right, and I think that's important, right? Because obviously a lot of people have very similar problems, right? But from your unique perspective of like, any agent could be like, time's gonna be hard, family's gonna get in the way, so will your friends, da 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 da. Like, I have children, right? And so, what are you going to tell me specifically? I get it. There could be a lot of things that kind of transfer or translate over, but I need something specific. I have a kid at home. I'm trying to run my real estate business. Help me, right? Because I'm really thinking about quitting. And you know what? You're building this community where it'd be like, just take one more step. I've been there. There have been times where I'm sure like you're like, I can't do this, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's I think it's there. I'm getting chills. I think it's a beautiful thing, right? Because it's just like, no, it's just one more step, right? We've all been there. This is how I handle it. You don't have to do it, but this is like how she handled it. Just understand, it's one more step. Right?
Yeah.
You're almost there, right? And I think that's incredibly important, right?
Well, sometimes when you're going through it, you're not seeing the big picture, or you're so caught up in your thoughts.
Yep.
And somebody from the outside can say, "Look, this is what I see, and this is what you could do."
And I love that, right?
Because I've had those moments where I was like, I can't do this, or this isn't going to work out, or I don't know if I should do it.
Right.
And then somebody from the outside looking in, they don't have all those negative drunk monkey thoughts.
Right.
And they're like, no, this is what I see. And it just gives you a different perspective to say, okay, this is a good idea. I can do this. Yeah.
And I absolutely, I think that's what, like, it's not even my thing, and I'm stoked for you, right? Like, I can't wait to see how this explodes. But I also realized that I kind of went ahead of myself, right? So, did you go into forming this community, this group, this idea, like, with these grand, like, plans, or was it kind of like a, you know what? I'm just gonna take this and go and see where it takes me.
It just happened very organically. I hate using that word 'cause it's kind of trendy, but it just kind of happened through conversations with another mom at the office, and then she wanted to have a class on, I think it was balancing both. And then we talked afterwards, and with me, like, if I start thinking, like, I'm very creative, so my mind starts going, and then I start thinking about more stuff I can think about. And I also thought about an article I read during lockdown, during COVID, and they were interviewing, like, these top producing agents, multi-million-dollar agents, and it seemed like they still had a lot of the same issues as mothers that me, like, I'm working on building my business, and I still have those issues as well. And then I started just thinking about the conversation with the other agent. I just felt like we need a space to talk about these things and talk about it with other people that have been there, done that, to help us kind of go over those little hurdles and keep going forward.
Right.
So I didn't think it was going to go big. I don't know how big it'll go.
But I mean, so far, how is it looking?
It's looking good. After our first session together this past month, I felt like the women that were on there were really excited, just talking to each other and hearing each other out and hearing about each other's struggles and feeling like I'm not alone. Right?
And I guess there's a little bit of on some level, you know, you're not the only one going through this, right?
Right.
How has it changed where, you know, on some level, you know that, you know, on an intellectual level, you know that you're not alone, like you're not the only one going through this, as opposed to you meeting someone in the flesh going through the same obstacles? Like, was there a transition on how it feels or how it hits?
I don't even know how to answer that.
And I mean, it could be nothing, right? I mean, it could be, or I mean, it's your journey, right?
Right.
So I mean, for me, it's just that, right? Sometimes it's just, look, this has been my truth, and, you know, take it or leave it, right? But if it's helpful for you, this is all I need. Or as opposed to sometimes I think it might hit you much later. That's my guess. Where, like, I think because right now, you know, it might be that tight knit close group, but if this explodes, I think it'd be like, holy crap, like, this was really a thing.
Right.
So I guess, okay, so we'll put a pin in that for now.
Okay.
Right? Because, like, I mean, that's the thing, right? It doesn't have to be some kind of, you know, mind-shattering epiphany that you get.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that you could have just simply said, look, I planned this out. I looked at all the data and all the market research, and I had this massive dream. I'm gonna have 1,000 women by the next. No, it's like, look, I had a thing, right? This just happens to be my.
It's like a little idea. Boop.
Yep. And you took steps.
Right.
Right. And I think that's important, right? Like you could have just said like, oh, that's a cool idea, and right, like forgot about it, but you didn't.
Right.
Right. And I guess actually now that I think about it, I guess that's a trend. That's like a trend with you, right? Oh, this is kind of cool. Instead of you like really like there's a certain level of like let me understand it, but you're just like sounds cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? Right? But you know what? Like it's an interesting theme, right? Because like I noticed that there are a lot of other people who actually perform at high levels, right? Even if it's not real estate,
Right.
whatever it is that they do, there's a little bit of that. I want to understand to a certain extent, but they don't get lost in analysis paralysis, right, or death by indecision.
Right.
I think, and like I get jealous of that, right, because there are a lot of things where I'm afraid to lead. I could know all the theoretical, academic, whatever, and I'm still like, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait. You just took it and ran, right? And I think it's so. I mean, look, I don't know all the details of your life, right? But so far, it seems to be working out pretty well for you.
It's
right?
going well.
And I'm going to keep rooting for that because, I mean, it is something that hits close to heart, right? Close to the heart.
Yeah.
I speak English, I promise. But so far, like things that I've seen coming out of you is just incredible. Right?
Thank you.
And so I think as this starts, I think if it's okay, like I would kind of want to keep tabs to see like as it grows.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have a really big status update as far as how that grows.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that would be cool because you'll help me
Oh,
realize it. You know what I mean?
I tend to be like that naggy, like naggy old man. Like, did you get it done yet? Did you get it done now? How about now? You promised me, right?
We touch base like every month, every quarter. Then I'm gonna say, oh wow. You
And
know
look,
what I mean?
and you know what? Now you see now. Just remember.
I'm like my hardest critique, so I won't see it unless I sit down to have a conversation with somebody about it, and then I'm like, I realize what you're saying. I see it.
But there's nothing wrong with that, though, right? Like, look, it's hard for you to see what is it, the tree from the forest, right? Or the forest from the trees. I mean, it goes something like that, right? And I think because you kind of, my sense is that you kind of like dive headfirst, and you're kind of focused on the thing you want to get done, right?
Right.
And I think this goes for everything else, right? Like sometimes, like if you have it's like kind of why you have the community as well, right? Like you think you're failing, things are going wrong, things are going terrible. You don't know, right? Sometimes it's just like, hey, look, you've been keeping an eye on what you've been doing. From an honest outside perspective, you're killing it. Keep going. Or you should probably tighten it up a little bit, right? Like either which way, I'm gonna commit myself to like I'm gonna nag you now. I'm gonna nag you now, right? Because now, like we're all big about having accountability party. Wow, I can't think of words.
Yeah.
So now it's once as you said it's once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So once a month, I'm gonna hit you up at least once a month to see if that
What's
in
going
fact
on.
right. And like I get it. For me, I'm gonna take that stance of I don't need to know the details of meetings because if it's just for the moms,
Right.
I don't need to know details. But I want to know that you had the meeting and that you've taken steps to like grow this community. Or it doesn't have to be in numbers, but just in
Quality.
something, right? It's
Quality,
something, right?
quality within the group.
Of course. So are you good with that?
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. So excited for you. If anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
I can get a call, text, my number 347-941-4246. You can email me, NataliaP@KW, or find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, I'm on there.
Before we wrap this up, is there anything else you want to add? I should have led with that first, actually.
So I've been reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on reading the
Love
book
it.
right now. So right now, I just want to end with like, if you have to choose anything today, choose happiness.
I love it. I love it. You know, you know what? I don't want to drag that out too much, but as cheesy as most people are like eye roll, the more successful, wealthy, happy people that I've found, like come in to, like, close interaction with,
Right.
they're like, dude, obviously there's some stuff that sucks, but like when you prioritize your health and your happiness, right, and then you work hard
Yeah.
to boot, they're like, things work themselves out.
Exactly.
And with that said, I can't wait to see how big this thing gets, because I expect a massive growth this time next year. I don't know, maybe you'll have your own like massive real estate moms wars, but for now, baby steps. And with that said, if you have any other questions, come reach out to my homegirl Natalia, or reach out to me. Well, unless real estate mom related, of course. And I will catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.